too late in the year to have this meeting, and a lot of conflicts with sports and stuff. But our goal tonight is really just to sort of just give a quick overview of each of the plans that your committees have been working on. This year, I know our school improvement plans, as normal, were created, developed with the school council, independent in each building. We also had a fourth plan that we were working on this year. We had our strategic plan, and I know many of you were on the strategic plan committee, and we kind of worked through that process over the last few months. So I think what we might see is, I know there's individual tweaks to each plan, and we'll talk about those a little bit. But I think as we move forward, now that we have the strategic plan document done, I think as we look towards like next year's version, we'll try to slowly align the school improvement plan more towards the strategic plan going forward. So just a quick overview of the strategic plan. We'll go into everything. I think one of the good things, we came up with a new mission statement. The mission at Clinton Public Schools is to provide students with rigorous, engaging, and academically challenging educational opportunities in a safe and secure environment. These opportunities aim to develop academic and social skills while recognizing individual differences and promoting the discovery and development of individual strengths, talents, and interests. Through partnerships with the community, Clinton Public Schools aims to teach students how to learn and adapt to be competitive and successful in a global society. So just like a lot of mission statements, there's a lot packed in there, but I think we touched on most things. So our mission is kind of what we're trying to do every day. Our vision is more of kind of what our end product. So our Clinton Public Schools vision is to be a high-performing school system where students develop as lifelong learners who are healthy, able to work collaboratively, think critically to solve complex problems, overcome adversity, and effectively utilize technology. Our students will be prepared to connect with our local community as well as be responsible, knowledgeable, and productive members of our global society. So some of the themes that kind of came through in those two things revolved sort of around our core values here. So we came up with 3 core values: academic achievement. Clinton Public Schools strives for all students to achieve at their highest level of academic performance while stimulating intellectual curiosity and developing the skills necessary to adapt and challenge to ensure college and career readiness. Adapt and change, to ensure college and career readiness. Our next one is safety and wellness. Clinton Public Schools aims to provide a safe and supportive learning environment which promotes social, emotional, and physical wellness for all in our global community. Clinton Public Schools embraces diversity and inspires for all of our staff and students to be productive, active, and caring members of not only the local community but the global society as well. And I think the whole concept of global community was something that really did emerge from that group. I think some of the initial drafts and stuff were focusing maybe more just looking at our local community, but really being part of the global community was something that came through from the committee. Our strategic plan was broken into 7 subgroups here: academic achievement, social, emotional, and physical wellness, community engagement, human resources, facilities, technology, and funding and finance. So we want to engage all students in an education that's challenging, research-based, and focused on student achievement while progressing them to graduation, preparing them for a successful future. Support all students' social, emotional, and physical wellness through opportunities, programs, and services. Provide a welcoming environment to all in the community while providing a variety of learning opportunities for parents, guardians, and community members to support student learning. Recruit, retain, and support and develop highly qualified staff to effectively service the needs of all students. For facilities, provide for the safety and support required to enhance learning as it relates to the building environment. Technologies to ensure all students have equitable access to technology and illustrate competencies and current skills that can be demonstrated and measured throughout their pre-K to 12 education. And for funding and finance, efficiently allocate and effectively manage resources to benefit members of the Clinton community and serve the best interests of students by providing high-quality education opportunities. So those are kind of our overarching goals for those 7 areas to support our mission and vision and core values. And then, I promise I won't read all these ones, but for each one of these areas, there were specific strategic goals, key actions, timelines, resources needed, and outcomes that were developed. There should be copies of these at your table if you wanted to look at them. But I think the process we used. We had over 40 people that were part of this committee, ranging from, school committee, town officials, staff members, administration, parents. We opened it up to pretty much anyone who wanted to be on the committee. Each person on the committee was assigned to a subcommittee. So even though we had basically monthly meetings as a full group, subcommittees met on their own to work on their own individual strategic goals, action steps, timelines, and those things. So I think it's a good plan that we're able to bring together. I think it encompasses a lot of the different areas that we need to look at moving forward, and identify some key action steps that then we can start translating and use to guide our improvement process moving forward and our budget development and those types of things as we look forward to the future years. The goal of this, it is developed as a 5-year strategic plan, so we should be able to use this document to guide our planning starting this summer and throughout the next 5 years as we kind of go along. Does anyone have any questions on the strategic plan? I don't want to spend too much time on it because I know looking around that a lot of you wrote it. So, and the goal will be for at the actual school committee meeting, when we get to that part of the evening, that we would vote to hopefully approve this, and then we will make sure that it is available on the website with hopefully all the school improvement plans and everything, so that we can making sure that those documents are available. All right, so the next thing, I guess, the next phase of the meeting, I'd just sort of like to have each school maybe give a little summary or synopsis of sort of their school improvement plan, kind of maybe highlight any areas that might have changed or new areas of focus. You all ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
I'm just going to read in between the tomato sauce stains on the garlic bread stains. First of all, I just want to thank this committee. I had the school council. We had at the high school. We did meet once a month, sometimes twice if need be. The key to that was you had the students involved too with the council. It has the students involved. So our preparation usually started with disease every first Monday. Feed them, and Jerry God loved that when he left the principal job. He said, feed them every week, every month, Q, and you get the best out of them. And then we worked really hard. We actually enjoyed the meetings, and I think that they really committed to it. So we had 3 basic goals that we're working on, that we worked on this year. So, and again, it might be around, but there's no need to read each one. But the first goal, we started this a couple of years ago, we're really still working on it, and that's the Community Informational Outreach Forum. In other words, more or less, to make Clinton High School, this building here, a center for the community, for educational purposes, for all ranges of all aspects of what it means to educate the community. We had just coincidentally last week on Monday night, we had the opioid awareness night with the the Mass Opioid Prevention Committee were here. It was a pretty good turnout. They were here with, I think it's called AED. They were the company that supports them. We had 3 or 4. They had a video on a young man from Somerville, Winchester, who had overdosed, mixing opioids and alcohol. It was really, really sad and touching video. And then a parent who also spoke herself. She spoke, and a couple of other people followed up. So it was strictly for the community and parents, and it was pretty well attended. So those are some of the things we're looking to continue to do. I know in the past we have had nights in here of histories, presentations on Clinton and what have you. And in the style of the enrichment, we also had the yoga classes up here, athletics, there's been clinics for soft and other things. And kind of tied into this, but not necessarily directly into that, some of our activities that we do offer, but in turn bring the community in, like the reality fair and the blood drives. Those are not, these are to use evening programs for the community, but those also have been successful in bringing the community into the building. And one of the things, we also talked about, in a sense with this, I know we did the open house this past year with 7th and 8th grade, which went very, very, very well. And we're talking next year to open it up to the whole community. So it's an education of all that we have to offer here at Untitled High School. So that's the theme, to make this building a center for the town for educational purposes. The other one, if you look, I know that we do this often with the Midwatch principals in our own network. If you ask every one of those schools, what is the one common goal for all the schools in its assessments, testing, and what have you. So we do have hours of concern. The MCAS, for instance, we've been very lucky, we've been very successful. We've had, I think, in the last 3 years, the ELA. I think one student has failed in the last 3 years, ELA. Math has improved quite a bit. We're down to, I think we were about 5 people, that's it, the last couple of years. Technology is still a struggle, but this is the last year coming up of technology, and we're going back to biology, which I think which should prove to be very helpful. So some of the things that we do try to implement is improving these areas. We have support. We tried something very new in the ELL student, with our ELL students, and having some of the teachers go in with them into the classes. And also, we worked very hard to have the ELL and special ed teachers work closely with department chairs in ELA and math and science. And they do all their activities that they try to implement in the class, the teachers, journals, icebreakers. They know we do those for, with MCAS questions, sample questions in the exams and what have you. One of the other areas of testing is the SAT, and we've kind of fallen behind on that. So this will come up later on tonight when we talk about some of the changes in the school. We will be implementing a SAT courses for our students, both in the afternoon, after school, as well as evening. So that's something that we've planned and we get off the ground. So that's going to happen in the fall. And then the other thing, the third goal is the core values. We're fresh off of a year and a half ago with the NEAS and C, and one of the areas is core values, to implement what we agreed upon in our self-study, what we presented to them, and to implement the core values. So touching on some of the things that Dr. Meyer just spoke about, on what are our visions, what do we see our students, how do we prepare our students for the future. So some of those things that we did bring the core values, there would be character qualities that we'd like to see our students have, and this plan addresses how to bring those about, how to introduce those, how to help form our students to be prepared into their post-secondary world. Independence, responsibility, integrity, creativity, confidence, and respect are our core values. So these are the things that we're trying to work with in a plan to implement the core values for our students. So those three things: the high school is an education center, assessment tests, MCAS, SATs, ACTs, and also our core values. And one other thing on that second, on the assessments, we have looked at and we're going to continue to look at is our AP classes and where we want to go with those, but that's still on the board for discussion. Okay? So those are our three key goals for 18-19.
And I think a lot of, if you look at, you're going to see with all these plans, but if you kind of look at those three goals, really the first one kind of aligns to that core value around community. Yep. Second one really aligns to that core value around academic achievement. And the third one, with the, you're talking about the respect and the character and all those kind of things, it's those core values. It's really talking about sort of that, supporting the student, so that safety and wellness and those types of things. So I think there's kind of a good overlay there.
And the other thing it tied into that character is also the diversity. Yeah, that's also something very important. which I don't even think we have to teach because it's little.
All right, Anne Marie, I don't know if you want to give a quick overview of the, sorry, let me rephrase the question. Please give your quick overview of your plan.
We stayed with the 5 goals that we've had in the past. Communication being our first. We think it's important to keep an open line of communication between home and school, and we have a variety of different ways that we do that. We're going to continue with the Sunday night calls, so if you're a middle school parent, I was going to stop them, but parents have asked to keep them. They like it because then they know the week's overview of what to look forward to. A thing that will be changing with the communication is we won't be doing step-up day for 3rd coming to 4th this year, so there'll be no step-up day this year for an elementary school grade coming up, but we're going to look at fine-tuning grade 4 coming up to 5 and recruiting veteran parents who have made this transition to be like guest speakers at our open house for that. Moving forward, we thought that would work well. Our second goal is academic achievement. We've done a lot with looking at data and looking at scores, and now we're taking the data and we're using it by implementing our win block, which is an opportunity to either challenge students or remediate students, depending on what the need is of the student, and it could change throughout the school year, depending at the time of the year, the concepts that need to be reviewed. So we're going to continue to do the win block. It's going to look a little different next year for the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. 5th and 6th will have their own win block with a push-in team. We're going to be lucky enough to have 6 Title I staff join us, along with the regular ed teachers and then some other support staff from special ed. We're very excited about that. And the way that we look at how we are going to break up students will definitely impact that. And again, it can change throughout the year. And then we have win block in the afternoon for the 7th and 8th grade students as well. But during their win block, they're going to have opportunities to do some elective courses by choice, band and chorus, and then they'll have an opportunity to also get remedial and or challenging, activities for them. Then we have our Pbis goal, which will remain almost the same. The difference this year is we have reached out to the Rachel's Challenge organization, and they will be coming to work with our Pbis team. We're going to have assemblies on June 5th, which I'm very excited about. So there'll be 2 different assemblies. Our current 4th and 5th graders will see one assembly because the content of it will be different. And then our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders will have also, theirs is about 90 minutes. And at the end of that, 10 to 25 students per grade level will be chosen to go into a training in the afternoon from 12:30 to 2 with the Rachel's Challenge team, so that we begin our professional development on how to bring Rachel's friends to the school so that we're ready to start this in the fall, which complements what we're currently doing with the Pbis program. We have student ambassadors and we have teachers. So there's 2 different groups, but now we're going to become one and open it up. So I'm very excited about that. Goal 4 is our safety goal.
Maybe real quick, for Rachel's Challenge, are they doing the parent assembly too?
Oh, yes, in the evening, yes. I need to get that out, actually, thank you. Yes, so we do have an evening event for the Rachel's Challenge, which I encourage anybody that's available to come. They do a fantastic job. Part of the middle school's Rachel's Friends will be reaching out to the community and doing some community involvement and engagement with, inviting people in, us going out to do different activities with different organizations as well. So there'll be parent event in the evening.
Is that on
So-
June 5th as well?
June 5th, yes, yes.
So Rachel's challenge, in case we didn't talk about, Rachel was one of the victims
First
of
one.
Columbine. And so this is like kind of a group that's kind of in her memory. I think it's set up by her family.
Yeah,
Or
she
started
wrote
by
an
her
essay,
family.
and the dad found it when they were going through her belongings, that she had submitted as an essay to one of her classes, and it was how to bring change among students. Like, why didn't everybody get along? Why couldn't everybody be accepted? And the dad really took it on himself and started the Rachel's Challenge himself, and then PBIS got involved, and then the company got involved, and that's why it's grown. And there are over 25 different states using the Rachel's Challenge. And in each of them, there's different schools, and it's at all different levels, depending on,
And the Friends of Rachel group is actually the part that really makes it powerful, because it
Yes.
has a lot of the sustainability. Sometimes when you bring in sort of these speakers and stuff, it can have that,
It's
you know,
done in-
big impact right away and then kind of drops off. The Friends of Rachel helps kind of sustain that
Yes.
impact.
so we're excited about that. We have a really good student ambassador group going with the teachers, PBIS team, but it's nice to have that extra bonus. And they do a lot of random acts of kindness, so it will work well for our school. Safety, we're bringing in the Alice training to the staff. Most of them have completed their video training. We'll meet on May 22nd, talk about that, and then hopefully this summer, the administrative team will put in place like some times that we'll do some of the scenarios that are part of the Alice training. And I also put Rachel's Challenge because that does bring a safety component to it as well. We currently are using walkie-talkies when students are outside at recess, when the gym class is across the street at the field. And I know that in the budget, we're looking to get exterior and interior cameras, hopefully for the school. And our last goal is curriculum and instruction. And we were trying to make a connection and tie it into academic achievement, but we kept it separate this year, knowing that we were going to probably rewrite it to align with the strategic plan next year. The biggest thing that we changed, and I'm not sure who at the high school, but it's a great addition to the dual enrollment program. Students now get to fill out an application and tell a little bit about themselves, so when they come over to the high school, as 8th graders, but taking high school courses, Jim, Jamie, the guidance kind of know the students, and you can kind of place them in classes, homerooms. It's a great process. So the students are involved in that now. Teachers have already made their recommendations to us. So students have been handed the application, they're due soon. The other thing with the curriculum and instruction, the way that we're going to have the 5th and 6th grade classes next year, we're going to have a humanities block and a STEM block, which is 120 minutes each. And then they get their win-in specials in between. So we're excited about that. We're going to continue to administer key math, the DRAs, Dibbles days, to collect data. And I think that's basically what we've changed for the.
I can't find this.
I'll pick it up.
You said you'd have problems. All right, first of all, I'm sure like Jimmy and Marie want to thank everybody from the school council members who are part of it. Without them, parents and anybody else it wouldn't come to life what we're doing. So to all the teachers and anybody else who's involved in this, and parents, community reps, and spending their time, I think all of us want to say thanks because it makes a big difference. 2016, 2018, towards 2018 and 19, wrote a one-year plan for next year, and part of that reason is with the 4th grade coming down, I want to see what's going on, and then we're going to increase it and elaborate on that in multi-years after that. But in 2016, 18, some of the areas I think that we worked on that really came to light was our goals changed a little bit. We had to ensure curriculum instruction is implemented according to the district and Common Core standards. Now, in 2018-19, when we talk about academics and everything, we're going to look at it more academic and engagement. We're going to look more at the strategic plan. We're going to run our school improvement plan much like it is to the strategic plan. So the difference between the two is in the early years, we're kind of just saying we need certain programs. This is when we're going to begin to get the foundations programs, work on those. Now we're saying we have those programs. What are the results of those programs 2 or 3 years later? So the difference is in the early years, we had foundations, we brought it into grade 2, we increased second step into our programs. Now with the goal in academic engagement, now we're looking at it, okay, where are we? We're going to do something with makerspace, we're going to get into digital art, we're going to change ourselves, project-based learning. We're also looking at our socials and science lessons and making sure that they're hands-on programs and there's some lessons there. So I think from early years, it was just a foundation of getting what we wanted. Now it's where are we and what does it say, who we are at CES. So academic engagement, again, going along with the strategic plan, it is looking at changing ours and making sure that we have a district-wide vision for makerspace. We will continue with our social and science programs, and we will also make sure we update our curriculum in ELA, math, science, and social studies. We're there, but we still have a little bit longer to go in order to make sure. Goal 2, when we were earlier, we had summative informative assessments at grade levels to make sure. We use a lot of data. We use it in our best team. We use it in order to, when the wind came in, it was pretty easy for us to implement that data that we had and bring the kids into that as part of that program. We wanted to increase and make sure that our fact fluency in mathematics was there. Now, what we're going to take a look at is, instead of worrying just about the data, now we're going to take a look at another areas, integrating social and emotional learning into a multi-tiered instruction. So for us, it's changing where some of these other areas, now we're going to go into 4 critical areas. One is going to be academics, the other one is social and emotional, because much like Anne Marie and Q, everybody has that section or that part of it. We have introduced second step into the grade 2 classrooms for tier 1. We will also continue with our Pbis training for students and staff. We are introducing 1, 2, 3 magic. We have a win block. And we also make sure that we do our individual counseling as a tier 3 through our crisis management meetings. So I think if we take a look at that, our curriculum and for second step is really there now. As in everybody, community engagement. I think in the past, we've done a nice job. We have some programs that run in the evening time. Now we want to take a look at what can our students, so I believe for the 4th grade coming down, it gives us an opportunity in order to change something. So I'm looking at academic parent-teacher conferences that include the students in them. Instead of just a parent-teacher conference, now we want to bring those students in so they can explain their work. We can talk about it. It's going to be a little bit of work on our part, but I really think with the 4th grade, they're a little more mature. It gives them an opportunity to kind of step in and be part of that. And it's something I think Anne Marie had done previously. So
And looking to do it.
I'm looking to do that. I'm also looking at, we do a good job, I believe, in making sure our teachers, text and they have meetings and everything. What we want to do is, we're going to put it to the wall and say to the families is, we want to communicate with families on a weekly basis on certain areas, on student progress and on grade level events. We want to make sure that we're going to get that, and how we're going to figure that out, we're going to send out a family engagement survey at the end to make sure that we're meeting their needs. What's going on. Finally, I think we do a nice job with the community. The community is very involved in our schools. They are open to whether it be our Pbis programs. They're part of those student programs with them and helping them out. But now it's going to be what can we do for the community? So we did start a small student council down there this year with the 3rd grade. We're going to increase that into the 4th grade next year also, and try to do some more community, what we can do for the community, not just what the community has been able to do for us. Finally, technology is always an aspect to us. Before it was, what did we do for technology? Is we got cameras in order to make sure our school is safe. There's 16 cameras that are involved in that area. We also brought in some other areas for technology. They're bringing in your document cameras, you're bringing in your TVs, you're bringing those things in. But now it's how is technology being used inside the classroom? Again, looking at the strategic plan that was presented is, how can we do this? I want to say is Mike McGurkin was wonderful in helping create this area of our plan from us. And what it has is trying to make sure that the teachers receive professional development in their use of technology, and then making sure that not only we've upgraded it, how are we going to incorporate that into our classrooms? How do we incorporate where our technology class is not just a standalone class, but is sitting there and being involved with our English classes and our math classes? So I think the prior one was the foundation of getting what we needed, and now it's that we have what we need, how we're going to implement it. So I think that's the changes in the two plans.
That's our overview of changes, kind of where we are, where we're going. I think you've heard a lot of this, a lot of this stuff we've been presenting all along. We've talked about the previous school committee meetings. So I think one key point is to say thank you to all the school councils and for your work on all of your plans. And I don't know if anyone has any other final questions or comments or thoughts on the plans presented tonight. All right. Then I think what we can do is we can wrap this up in a timely fashion, and we'll go ahead and at the meeting, at the full school committee meeting, we'll go ahead and try to hopefully vote and formally approve these plans at the school committee formally approve them. So thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for your hard work on these plans. I don't know if there's any food left. If there is, grab it.